Good evening. Good evening to one and all. Hello, Kaludro, Z Moku. Good luck to everyone who nominated. This is a very important thing. Yes. Good luck to everyone. This is super official. Clone Blitz, nobody cares about your happy new year, but whatever. Neato! If I'm not here 15 minutes, I'm here early. It starts at noon. It's 11:53. I'm here like 8 minutes early. If I didn't show up at noon 15, you could leave, Neato. First podcast I'll see live. Might be the last. It is too late to nominate anybody for anything. It's way too late to nominate. You had your chance. There's no wig today. There'll be a wig next week. There's a good reason why there's not going to be a wig today. There is some semi-important stuff we need to talk about, and I don't need a clip of me talking about semi-important stuff wearing a wig. So, that'll be next week. How much to rig the votes? Maybe a question you should have asked a week ago. Because there is a price. I have a price. It's a little too late now. But if you DM'd me last week and said, hey, Popgun, how much money do I need to give you to get what I want? I would give you like a breakdown of prices. Like, you give me this much, this is what you get. You know, if you want to win Match of the Year, there is a price point for that. Oh, Popgun's corrupt. I work at IPL. We're all corrupt. Haven't you heard? Suit looks fire, Popgun. Thank you. Thank you, Rocket. You know what? I'm going to give you an award just for that. What do you want to be? Best production? Worst pickup name? We can give you that. Anyways, how are you fine folks doing this afternoon? This evening. Not used to doing podcasts this late in the day. I was brushing my teeth when I heard somebody said that Popgun looks very handsome in a suit. I immediately stopped brushing my teeth. I threw my toothbrush out the window so that I could run to my computer screen to see just how good looking Popgun was today. And it was worth it. I mean, I gotta buy a new toothbrush now. It was fine until you insulted my comment. You know. QQ, as my generation would say. It is actually that time of year where I realize that I once again have to set Chrome as my default browser and not Internet Explorer, which it magically resets every now and then. Like, why is this opening? Oh. Well, poo. Firefox. You look like a CEO, LaMayo. I am corrupt. That fits the bill. Dress like the job you want. I did stay up till midnight this year. I didn't last year. I went to... Do you guys get fireworks? My neighborhood shoots off fireworks. I haven't watched the New York ball drop in like a decade. Rose Bowl, who do I got? Indiana. I think there's no reason to pick against Indiana until they lose. I don't think there's any like mystique of like, oh, Alabama's this and Indiana's that. Well, that went out the window when Indiana beat Ohio State, so there's no reason to believe that nonsense. Who's that? Dick Clark's New Year's Eve? He's dead now, right? But they had him on there like well after his body had, like he was a skeleton at some points. Woo! Made it. Good job, Strings. You wouldn't want to have to be stuck watching the VOD. Made it just in time. Ryan Seacrest hosts this. Ryan Seacrest is the America's Got Talent or American Idol person. I didn't say you were Tokapa. I said Dick Clark it was. I guess was. I don't think that person's still alive anymore. All right. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you are posting your goals for 2026, despite not even remembering your goals in 2025, bringing back old memes for the Great Meme Reset, recovering from a New Year's Eve party that you didn't even go to, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to this, unless I don't. Well, welcome into a surprise New Year's Day episode of the Popcast. I wasn't originally planning on doing one on January the 1st. That seems kind of a bit obnoxious for me to, it's New Year, you should start it by watching this. No, I was going to do it on Monday. I came into work on Monday and just coming back in from the holidays, there was a lot of stuff to catch up on too. I didn't really have time to sit down and put all this together. So I was like, why not just wait till Thursday when I don't have to work, and PJ naps at noon. So I'm like off of dad duty at this point as well for at least another 2 hours. Why not just do it now? I did have some people reach out to me speculating, oh, Popgun, you're not doing it on Monday because the gym just released like his side of the story and you want to like give us some time for that. Like, no, I would have done it on Monday. That had nothing to do with it. And yes, am I going to talk about the gym thing? Of course. We're going to briefly mention it. And I mean briefly because if you've been following what I've been saying about this for the past year and a half, there's not really anything new I have to say about the whole situation. There's not really a whole bunch of new stuff because from the very beginning of this Six and Jim and IMAD thing that came out a year and a half ago, from the very beginning, this has been a private issue between two adults that was none of our business, that may have some potential criminal stuff into it, may have some potential civil stuff into it. None of this was any of our business. It's between two adults. We should not have been involved in this at all. However, this was something that was forced upon the Splatoon community. This was having Splat safety drugged into it, and the trust of the entire community built on the safety organization that was Splat Safety. Everything around this was being, the narrative around this was being forced against Splat Safety and challenging the trust of that entire organization. And I do just want to point out this fact. One side did drag the Splatoon community into this, and the other side didn't. It doesn't matter what you think about this situation. It doesn't matter like whose team you're on, like this is some sort of sport that you're interested in. None of that, your opinion on all this doesn't matter. The reality is one side drugged the Splatoon community into this and the other side didn't. And at the end of the day, as we're now starting to realize, as one side who hasn't been talking for legal reasons is now starting to talk, we're starting to realize that challenge against Splat Safety was based off of seemingly withheld / misinformation. That is reality. And it doesn't matter what your opinion is on it on either side. You can think whatever you want to think about it. That is a fact that cannot be changed. That is the only thing I want to point out about this. Everything else, again, it's none of our business. I don't want to know what happened on the bowling alley night. I shouldn't have to read that. If you're a minor in this community, you shouldn't have to be reading that. But it was forced upon you because it was the key witness in the People versus Splat Safety case and fed into a ton of stupid conspiracy theories, which, by the way, if you still believe those radical conspiracy theories about Splat Safety after everything that's come out because of this, you might need to check yourself and make sure you're not a Russian AI bot at this point, because you are beyond a sheep. You are just flat out crazy. The conspiracy theory, I'm not saying you can't be critical of Splat Safety. There's plenty of reasons to be fairly critical of Splat Safety. But if you are still bought into the conspiracy theories, bless your heart. Bless your heart, because you got a rough time coming up with this world of AI and misinformation that's out there. It just sucks. All of this just sucks. But that's all I really have to say about that, because there's nothing else new. It's always been a private issue. You could always just have observed this thing in a neutral stance. And yet here we are. I have another rant that I want to get into. Not anywhere near as serious. By the way, I am supposed to be wearing a wig for this episode of the podcast that was part of the R for R donation incentive. I will wear a wig next week. I didn't want to wear one today because I knew I was going to be talking about that. And I'm assuming somebody's going to clip out like what I say out of context. And I didn't need a clip of me talking about serious, important stuff when they're like, why is that dude wearing a Miku wig? It's like, okay, maybe that diminishes this a little bit. So next week, hopefully we can talk about more fun related things. But I do have like a semi-fun, well, not really like fun, I guess. But there was like another thing I saw on social media that's nowhere near as serious that I wanted to give my thought on. Just for the sake of, I'm in kind of a ranty mood. Let's give my thought on. Nellfire, a couple of weeks ago or last week, put a thread on Blue Sky talking about as they were a pool captain for Riptide, they noticed a team that was likely to make grand finals going up against a much lower seeded team, and the higher seeded team wasn't wearing headphones. And the reason behind it was they didn't think it was important to wear headphones against the opponent they were going up against, so they didn't really want to bother with it. And it was brought up this conversation of, is that unsportsmanlike conduct? Should there be rules against things like that? Is it rude to do things like that? And I want to give my response here because I feel like I got a pretty good one. No. No. If your opponent, there should be an unwritten rule that you should like wear headphones against your opponent. Yes. Should there be an actual in-tournament rule that says we should be cracking down on teams not wearing headphones because they know they're going to win? No. If your opponent doesn't want to play seriously against you, that's their right to do so. I don't have any problem with my opponent not wearing a headset if they feel like they can destroy me. I've played against FT Win several times in a LAN. I played against them one time where they were watching a Valorant tournament in between the games that we were playing during the match. And I didn't care because I just wanted to get it over with. I know I'm getting my butt kicked. They know they're going to kick my butt. But Popgun, playing against tougher opponents gets you better. If they took it seriously, you get better. No! Who told you guys that? That's not true. You get better by playing against teams that are the next step above you or 2 steps above you. If your opponent is so much better than you that they can curb stomp you without using VC and not using their main weapons, the lesson you get from that is that they are that much better than you. That's the only lesson. You'd be better off just watching their VODs playing against a tougher opponent. We don't need to get to that point. If I'm playing FT Win or a team of that caliber at a LAN, I just want to get the damn thing over with. The last thing I want to do is that awkward 5 to 10 minute phase where everybody's plugging in. Okay, Susie, I hear you. Tommy, I can't hear you. Can you move your microphone? Tommy, say something. Are you talking right now? I can't hear. Okay. I can't hear Tommy. Okay, everybody take your headsets off. Unplug it. Tell Tommy to take his headset off. We can't hear them. I can't hear the game audio. If we could just skip that and just be like, hey, they just don't want to do headphones. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's get this over with. I'll take my 3-0. We'll shake hands and move on. Now, it would be different if after they beat you, they stood up and said, you suck. I'm better than you. If every time you made a bad play, they stood up and screamed at you and been like, that was a bad play you made. I'm so much better than you. If they flipped you the bird after beating you in a match, that would be one thing. Because that is something that happened a lot, both on stream and off stream at Riptide this year, not by top level players, but by players as mid as the Pittsburgh Steelers. And to my knowledge, the sportsmanship rule that could have very easily been enforced there wasn't. So I'd be much more interested if we would take care of the actual, hey, you're seriously crossing the line here kind of things and enforce those rules first before we go after, hey, you don't have a headphone on. Like, go buy a headset and go put that on. I think that's what should be done. But there you go. You did not come here to hear me rant. Those are just some things I had in my mind that I wanted to get out. You wanted to hear me talk about today's segment. Today, we are going to be talking about the Popcast Awards. This is the 6th time that I've done this. And it's kind of weird how much some people care about this to the point to where they're like, I actually want to win this thing. I don't have any trophies to give you. I don't have any copies of arms to give you. This isn't super official either. Like where we're putting out a poll and you can vote for these things. This is all like mostly my opinion. But we'll get to that in a minute. Because first, A new tradition that I've been starting out these last few years is making predictions about the year to come. I'll start off with the first episode in January. This one doesn't count. Where I make 5, I don't want to say hot takes, but 5 bold predictions about how the year is going to play out. What are some things people aren't thinking of that I think is going to happen based on my years of experience and knowledge within the community? So I made 5 predictions, and you probably forgot what they were. I forgot what they were. And the VOD from IPL hasn't been uploaded for that yet onto YouTube. So I had to dig through all 6 gazillion episodes of the podcast. This is just a handful of my notes. And I don't put the episode numbers on my notes when I write them down. So how did I find it? I always have the weekly recap, and the first thing of a weekly recap of is paddling pool. And I looked back on the calendar and found out that the Monday I did that episode, the paddling pool I would have recapped was like 301. So I just had to flip through my notes and look for paddling pool 301 and eventually found it through that. So here were my 5 predictions back in January for 2025. And let's see how they kind of panned out. First off, if you remember back in January, you could have every single one of your Sindao badges on your profile at once. And there were some people that were weekly warriors that had so many badges on their profile, it would legit lag your computer. Like you would DC from the lobby if you had a Sindao profile up of some of these players. They had so many badges, it was ridiculous. So I made a bold prediction that the badge system was going to change in a way to where you can only pick what badges you want to be displayed at a time. And I was kind of right about that. Eventually there has been an update to where certain badges can be displayed at a time, and you can just kind of flip through the pages to see how that kind of worked out. I had no insider information about that. That was just something I kind of saw myself and was like, man, this sucks. I hope that got fixed. And it did. 1 for 1. My second prediction that I made. How many of you remember back in January, there was that Salmon Run tournament that was on the Nintendo app that had somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 teams playing in it? I was hinting at that I was going to reach out to somebody within the Salmon Run community to bring them on to talk about that, because there is some crossover between the competitive scene and the Salmon Run scene. And I made the bold prediction that competitive Salmon Run was finally going to transcend their bubble and become something that was able to rival the actual competitive Splatoon scene of playing the ranked modes. Have any of you heard anything about a Salmon Run tournament, period, since then? I'm sure there has been. And I'm sure the Salmon Run competitive scene is popular. I'm sure it's going strong. Just like whatever, I guess, the 2 of you that play the card game, I'm sure that scene's going strong as well. I was wrong, though. I thought with whatever that thing was in January, that was going to transcend Salmon Run altogether. I didn't. So there, we're 1 for 2 right now. We're batting 500. That will get me into the Hall of Fame. That's pretty good. My third prediction. And this was a pretty easy one for anybody to kind of predict. The conversation through January, this bled into the summer, and I'm sure there's some schmucks out there that still want to fight this argument because you're running out of topics to talk about now that the NA League is over with. There are way too many tournaments going on. There are way too many tournaments in the scene. And at this point last year, it was a bit obnoxious. So I made the prediction that at some point this was going to get worse, and we were going to have a week where 50 tournaments existed from a Sunday to a Monday, or from a Monday to a Sunday on Sindao.Inc. I don't know what the highest week was, but it certainly wasn't 50. We did not get anywhere close to 50. Well, a lot of things changed over the year. First off, one of the orgs that was cranking out tournaments like they're just like being sprung out in a factory line. And at one point, multiple points actually, was running 2 tournaments on the same day at the same time from the same organization, they don't exist anymore. That cut down on the number of tournaments that are being cranked out each week significantly. Another thing that kind of changed things was the shift from just throwing out skill cap tournaments, which there are tons of them, but more of a focus on tournaments that would cater to the top level players in Splatoon. We saw more Super Jumps. We saw more Splat World Series. We saw the Nintendo League take a step up into things. We saw the same number of Sindel finals that we always did, but there's been a higher focus on quality events versus quantity of events. So I'm happy that I'm wrong that we did not have a week where we had 50 tournaments going on. And also there's been a change. I don't know if this is 100% taken effect yet. I know it's been talked about that the perms, like who could actually create a tournament on Sindel.inc, was either going to change or has officially changed already to where you have to have a certain level of success in your past events to run it, or you have to be a Patreon to do it as well. So all those kind of combined helped heal the too many tournament issue thing. Are there still a lot of tournaments you look on there and be like, man, there's only like 3 teams signing up for this, and this tournament just keeps running week after week? So be it. They're not harming anything. None of this is doing any damage to the community at all. It's just fine. But I was wrong about that. We did not get 50 tournaments in a week, and I'm happy to be wrong about that. Number 4. If you recall December of 2024, what was the one topic that everybody in the competitive Splatoon community was talking about? Everybody was talking about it. Dude made a long post about it, probably made a video about it. Every top level player was chiming in on this. We did a Popcast episode on it. The main topic of December 2024, it's not third kits. No, guys, you guys have memories of goldfish, which is a good thing because this is a topic I'm glad we're not talking about anymore. The scene was dying in December 2024. There's no tournaments for top level players. They're all saying they're going to quit because there's nothing for them to do anymore. That's what we were talking about a year ago. Now, I've been a part of this scene longer than I probably should have up to this point. And the community is dying conversation is something that we've talked about multiple times. So I made the prediction that in December of 2025, we were once again going to have the same conversations. People were going to make the same videos yet again, talking about how the community is dying. Because that's how it goes. We have events. It's cool. The events go away. We talk about things dying. That didn't happen. Nobody is talking about the community dying because it's not. It's arguably in the best place it's been in years, aside from the fact that, you know, when Splatoon 3 first came out, obviously there was a ton of people playing. But for this stage of Splatoon 3, we're doing pretty decent. Now, viewership is awful across the board. Viewership is as bad as it's ever been since I've been paying attention to the scene. Everything else is going pretty good, though. Now, there was like a conversation a couple of weeks ago where I saw like the same kind of cycle where somebody complained about something that happened in a tournament and TOs come out and be like, you can't complain about this. And like somebody saying like, oh, people aren't happy with tournaments. And someone saying TOs should unionize if they're not being happy enough. I'm like, what are we talking about? It turns out it was just like one minor rule thing in SOS that has since just been, like, the rule has just been rewritten to be more clarified in how it's supposed to be. That's all that was. I think people were just kind of like, we haven't had, like, an awkward, weird conversation in a while. Let's just find some reason to do that. And they did, and it was pointless. So, no, the scene is not dying, and people aren't talking about that. So, yet another thing I was wrong about. Prediction number 5. Back in January of last year, we knew that the LAN Championship Showdown was going to be a thing. It was first announced. It was critically acclaimed before the event had even run. At that time, there were 8 teams for it. And I made the prediction that whatever the next LAN Championship Showdown was going to be was going to grow from 8 teams to 12 teams. Now, the significance of that is that at the time, there weren't more than 8 locals that you could justify being significant enough to where if you win it, you got to move on to the championship. So at that time, I was predicting, not like with secret conversations I had with Falco that like, yeah, we're going to move to 12. There weren't 12 legit lands to even go to yet. So I was making a prediction at that time that things nobody knew even it were going to exist in December were going to be created and were going to be significant enough to where you could be, you win this, you move on to be the champion of planet Earth as far as locals is concerned on this side of the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. So I was right about that. Barely. Announced just a couple of weeks ago is the next LAN Championship Showdown, which will take place in 2026 and will include 12 LANs. A couple of which didn't even exist until I think the last one was announced during Super Jump, or it was announced during one of the major events. I think it was announced during the Sindao finals. So there we go. I predicted that 4 new events would be popping up and they'd be significant enough to be an LCS qualifier. I was right about that. That I'm actually the most proud of as far as predictions. So 2 for 5 on the bold ones. Again, that is batting 400. That makes you an amazing baseball player, which I should be. Predictions for 2026 is going to be the next episode of the podcast, which is going to be on Monday, where I will have 5 new predictions of things that nobody else is going to be talking about that I think is going to happen in the year 2026 as it relates to competitive Splatoon community. And we're going to be taking your calls as well. We're going to allow you guys to come on here and give a bold prediction as well. I think somebody made a prediction that Splatoon 4 was going to be announced this year. What a dumb take that was. We didn't even come close to that. Did we even know the Switch 2 was going to be a thing in January of 2025? But I want to hear your predictions, and we'll get to mine as well. Now, before we get to what you guys are actually here for, let's take a very brief commercial break and take a look at this. It didn't load. Oh, I know what I did. I hit just camera instead of the wrong thing. Take a look at this. Play. Thank you. You know, we got a lot more videos that we have to play over the course of today, so it's good that we got that one out of the way. Now, here's how this works. The Popcast Awards, all the categories that have been listed on my Blue Sky account. For most of these awards, we have more than 3 different places, like a 3rd place, a 2nd place, a 1st place, and some honorable mentions. Some we all don't have as many as that. This is a combination of your guys' nominations and my personal opinion. At the end of the day, this is my awards. This is not Popcasting the people. It's me. This is my show. So when I decide something, I set my foot on it. There's a lot of times where you guys will overwhelmingly nominate something. I'll disagree with it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if you guys are overwhelmingly nominating this, we'll make it happen. There are times where I have something listed in the number 1 spot of a category that didn't get nominated by anybody at all. And it's like, you guys forgot about this, and it's such an obvious number 1. So it's a bit of a mix of both of those things. The key important thing about this even if you don't win something, because I know there's some people that are like, I desperately want to win something like this. And it's like, it's not that deep. But I hope for a lot of you that got pinged by somebody on Blue Sky being like, I think this person is a great commentator. This person worked their ass off to create this tournament. This person did some phenomenal trailers. I hope that everybody else acknowledging some of the great things you've done over the course of this year felt good for you. And that's really what the whole point of this is. And if you're like, oh man, nobody voted for me for anything, I'm sorry. I can't pat all of you on the back. But the main point of this was you guys getting a back pat from multiple people and not just the 35-year-old bald guy who has opinion on stuff like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 categories. We used to have 10. We added a new one. We're going to go down the list as I have listed right here. And no crying in chat or in my DMs. There is no crying allowed during this. Either tears of joy or tears of sadness. We're not going to allow that. But we are going to start off with the most improved team of the year. I don't have any honorable mentions for this one. Number 3 is one of the first examples of a team not getting any nominations at all, but me being the one recognizing things, being like, yeah, you guys missed this. Number 3 is Distinct. Distinct is easily one of the most improved teams in the entire year. And when you look back, did you guys remember there was an SAC this year? They won that. Consistently improving, consistently getting podium or threatening for podium of the EU weekly tournaments. And considering that Distinct, I believe last year in 2024 was playing in low ink, to getting to win SAC, to being a consistently improving team, Distinct should have been a team you guys nominated. Number 2, I'm surprised Frutella didn't get more nominations for this as well. Frutella is vastly improved over where they've been. Now, Frutella's always been a team that is just like, okay, cool, you're winning Triton Cup. Awesome, you're winning Paddling Pool. What can you do besides that? Well, this is the year they took the step forward and started doing a lot more besides just that. They started threatening to make podium at major events, and they've been carrying the flag for Europe. It might be the best all-European team that we had this entire year. Frutella, easily a team that should fit number 2 for most improved. Number 1, this team was nominated overwhelmingly for this category by you guys, and it is the correct answer. I couldn't agree more. The most improved team of 2025 is by far Free Flow. And spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about Free Flow a lot on this episode of the podcast. I don't think I need to do any more introductions because you guys nominated this team overwhelmingly. You already know how much they've improved over the course of the year. And the players on this team, even if they didn't play for Free Flow, if they were playing on Go at a couple of lands where they finished second place, when they popped off in the past couple of super jumps that they played in, when they beat FT Win in the NA League in the ladder round and still didn't get into top 8 of that. That was the most criminal use of the ladder tiebreaker that I could see at that point. But Free Flow, the most improved team of the year. Hopefully they can play whenever the next league is and they can make top 8. They're a top 8 caliber team for sure. The worst pickup name of the year. I didn't get a lot of nominations for this, other than Saddam Hussein's Hiding Spot, which is not eligible because A, we didn't allow it to be used in a tournament, and B, I'm sure there's someone out there that finds references to dictators that have caused the deaths of millions of people to be funny. I'm not one of them, so that one doesn't count, even as an honorable mention, even though it was like one of the few that actually got nominated. There is only one correct answer in the worst pickup team name of the year category this year. I don't have a second, I don't have a third, I don't have an honorable mention. There's just one. The team that won Low Ink with the name will come up with a name later is by far the worst pickup, one of the worst pickup team names of all time. Now, that's not a unique pickup team name. I think every single Low Ink we have at least 2 teams that sign up with like to be determined, or we don't have a name, or we'll come up with a name later. Okay, everybody's got a tournament like that. Like there was one Proving Grounds where we had 2 teams called Pickup. Pickup being 2 words for one team, Pickup being 1 word for the other team. But when you name yourself, we'll come up with a name later, and you win Low Ink, where we have a website where we list the Hall of Fame, which I think hasn't been updated in about a year, where we will list your team name forever, and it's never going to change. And when somebody looks up the history of Low Inks and they look at that one, and they just see the team name, we'll come up with a name later. You are etched forever in history with a name that means absolutely nothing. By far the worst pickup team name ever. It's so bad that old team during Low Ink came to help desk and said, our name is bad. Like, we even know it's bad. Can we change it? And we're not changing anybody's name during a tournament unless it's like found to be inappropriate. It's so bad even the team that created it feels bad about it. So let this be a warning to you guys. If you're going to have a name where it's like, we don't really care what the name is, play in a tournament that doesn't have a Hall of Fame website, because now you're stuck there forever. Production. Now, this is a new category this year. Production is something to where when I was doing this last year, I think it was Pinky who pointed out you should have a production category, which is fair. And I threw it up there without even thinking about, wait, what does this even mean? Like, are we talking about best events? Are we talking about best person doing the production stuff? Are we talking about streamers? Are we talking about trailer makers? I don't really know. So here's what we're going to do next year. We're probably just going to have like production person and best event and make those 2 separate categories. For now, here's what I got. I got individual people that I just want to shout out, not in like an honorable mention kind of thing, but people who I know behind the scenes have been busting their ass and deserve like a pat on the back. And the production awards, number 3, 2, and 1, have to come down to the events that most of these people actually worked on. So first off, I want to give a shout out to Ellie, who is absolutely fantastic when it comes to all things production and all things TOing, which I believe we'll get to a little bit later. Azza, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I should, because if you watched any kind of trailer this year and you thought, oh, that's pretty good, it's probably because Azza had a point in it. I also believe, is Azza the person behind FT Wins, like actual, we're posting, hey, we're doing this tournament, hey, here's our result in that. So like actual PR person as well. We need more teams to do that. I didn't realize that was Azza that was like putting that together. I legit thought that was just like Kyo or something. I was like, oh, that's nice they're doing that. It's like, oh no, they hired someone to do it. I hope they hired someone. Last but certainly not least, Joe Ryan deserves a shout out. If Joe Ryan, I believe, has a hand in every single tournament that has ever existed, ever will exist, and ever has existed, is more than willing to be a volunteer streamer for anything, and has saved IPL's butts in several tournaments where we needed an emergency streamer. And I'm pretty sure like every other organization in this community could say the same thing. So Joe Ryan, those 3 individuals in particular need some shout outs. Are there more that I'm missing? Of course. My bad. We'll fix that next year. But the production, 3, 2, and 1, we are going to give these to events. Number 3. And it's criminal that we have Octofest at number 3. It is criminal because when you think of LAN production, this is it. This is like peak, and they got it right from the jump. Now, I think the venue they were able to partner with had a lot to do with that, but you could tell they clearly had a vision for what they wanted to do that was different from what we've seen from other LAN events, and they did a fantastic job of it. And oh my gosh, they showed the crowd. Why, Riptide? Why did you send JPEG out to the crowd with a tripod just to give us a slightly different angle of the black curtain and the 8 players on stage from what we've been seeing this entire time? It didn't put JPEG in a spot to where just get crowd reaction the entire time. Why? And I give Octofest a huge pat on the back for just showing the frickin' crowd and capturing the excitement of the entire event, not just what the black curtain looks like from 2 different angles. That just leaves 2 obvious events for number 2 and number 1. And man, it's hard to kind of split hairs here. But if I had to give credit to one, if I had to like find one distinct feature between the LAN Championship Showdown and the Splat World Series, the LAN Championship Showdown gets credit for being an inspiration to a lot of us at IPL as far as looking what they did, looking what they accomplished, and saying, I want to beat that. Like, this is the best event of the year. We want to beat that. And that's where part of the inspiration for Splat World Series came from. How are we going to make something big that could beat the LAN Championship Showdown? Splat World Series, probably the most important event of the entire year. Like, we broke the community with the Splat World Series. Not our fault. We thought we thought PXG would win like 1 match. No, they ended up winning 1 game. In the Splat World Series, of course, the most viewed event of the year, by far the most viewed stream in IPL's history on YouTube. By 5,000 views, it's still viewed more than Riptide. It's going to be a while before we beat Splat World Series as far as viewership on the YouTube stream. All the trailers that were coming out for it every other day, the preview of the preview of the teaser of the teaser, and the actual event itself with streams in both English and Japanese with us providing the overlays to the Area Cup team. That's awesome. The LAN Championship Showdown was an inspiration for a lot of that because of the production that they were able to pull and the viewership they were able to bring in. And they get credit for the trying something that I haven't seen anybody do, which is multiple stream every single match and have a main stream that actually goes back and bounces from one to the other. I don't think they really mastered that format, but somebody had to do it first so that everybody could look at it and say, oh, it'd be easier if they just like talked this way, or if they had a viewership of like this kind of thing, if they had like the grid of all the matches like at this one time. LAN Championship Showdown was bold. And that's not to say Splat World Series wasn't, but the LAN Championship Showdown is an inspiration to a lot of things, both on the online scene and the offline scene. LCS gets the number 1 production for the year. Breakout commentators of the year. I don't know what breakout means. This isn't like rookie commentators. This isn't like people who started off in 2025. I see this more as like people who've been commentating for a while, but have finally taken like the next step up to where when we're talking about major events, we're like, hey, this person should be like brought on. Like, we should reach out to this person to bring them on here. Honorable mention goes out to Topic. Somebody who we've been having on for Low Ink for a bit now. Somebody I've been listening to. Somebody who had the audacity to think the New York Knicks were going to beat the Indiana Pacers in the NBA playoffs and called me out for it. How did that work out for you, buddy? But Topic gets an honorable mention for sure. Number 3, SPF Dark. Got a lot of nominations, and rightfully so. Now, what does SPF stand for? I believe that's like the thing they put on sunscreen. So I'm sure there's like some sort of sunscreen protection going on there with that name. But breaking out from the sunscreen persona is SPF Dark, coming in at number 3. Number 2, and I could have very easily made the case for this person to be number 1, but this person was nominated a lot by you guys and 100% deserves to be a breakout commentator of the year. Sasu. I've been so impressed with... I didn't know who this person was until I saw them make a video talking about Metro Inc. and Big Dapple, like some of the things that things that event has changed over the course of the year. And was when I saw them sign up to be a low ink commentator, it was like, oh, I want that person commentating with me in grand finals. Like, this is easily a break. This is such an easy decision for breakout commentator of the year. But when there's one person that, if you're going to run a Splat World Series that starts at 8 in the morning on the East Coast and 5 in the morning on the Pacific Coast, and you need somebody who's going to come in there and wake people up and who's going to be a good combination with Stormy, the breakout commentator of 2025 goes to Fufu. I talk about this a lot. When you have people who are fake excited about stuff, the audience picks up on it. When you're sitting here screaming and hollering and getting super hype about a group stage of a Splat World or of a SOS that like 25 people are watching, like, that's so fake. And everybody realizes that. Fufu is genuinely excited about everything that they see and is such a great hype person. There's so many times this year where there's been like hype moments, key moments, and the commentators just let it go. Fufu's not a commentator that lets the hype stuff go. When you see a hype clip and Fufu's the kind of commentator you want talking about that, because you know that they're just going to nail it in just the right way. Fufu's your breakout commentator of the year. Most wholesome. Do we have any more silly stuff? Are we really just going on with like important stuff for everyone? I guess we are. Most wholesome. I don't have any honorable mentions. There was one team that pretty much got nominated the entire time. But we'll get to that. Number 3 goes to Moonlight. I think it's incredible when we talk about top level teams, how they usually have this stigma of just being a-holes. I mean, we're having conversations like, man, they're not even wearing headsets when they're playing against their opponent. Should we have a rule that says you're going to get in trouble if you don't wear headsets against your opponent? Nobody says anything negative about Moonlight. And they're so easy. They are perfect ambassadors for the competitive Splatoon scene. And, well, they get number 3 just because they weren't nominated enough, I guess. Number 2, I'll give it to Delicious Steak Dinner. I mean, they might be a pickup. We'll never know. But I would say they've been a positive force in the low ink community this year. And it was one of the team I was genuinely excited to let them know, hey, you've been banned from low ink. Not because I wanted to get rid of them, but because it's like, you guys actually earned it. Get out of here. Oh, they also sent me a Christmas card, I think, that I forgot to respond to. I don't know. But they got nominated a lot as well. The team that got nominated the most, and I think it's kind of, I think we need to ban this team from being nominated in the future because they're such an obvious choice. Malibu Rising is your most wholesome team of the year. However you define wholesome, this was overwhelmingly nominated. So congratulations to the Fighting Roses for that. Moving on. Upset of the year. I only have one. And it wasn't one that you guys nominated. Every single one of you nominated. I think this was the only thing I saw nominated other than like a couple of best of 3 sets that were like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of an upset, but they only played 3 games. Like, you can kind of, it's easier to pull that off. Best of 5, I should probably clarify, best of 5 or better is what we're looking for in this upset category. But every single one of you picked Moonlight over FT Win in the North American League finals, or not like the final event, not the finals. I think it was like losers round 3 or something that they played. On paper, that's an upset, yes. But Moonlight and FT Win played like damn near 20 times this year. Eventually, they're going to beat them. It's an upset. Technically, yes. Was it an eyebrow raiser? Sure, I'll give you that. But that's not like oh my gosh, that Moonlight beat FT Win. Like, come on, that's not an upset of the year. So we'll give that honorable mention. But there is only one upset, and I didn't see anybody pick this because I think all of you forgot how jaw-dropping this one particular upset was at the time. When you recall, DivX first came out this year, I was on the seeding council, and one of the things I publicly said was, of the 12 teams that we put in DivX, 11 of them were slam dunk, no-brainers. Yes, this is the DivX team. And the 12th team we put in, Z, I'm wrong. Z, you did vote for this one. You're correct. But the 12th team we put into DivX, we openly admitted had no business being in DivX. They were only there because you were required to have 12 teams. So it's like, all right, let's just put Poyo in there. Going up against Black Lotus, who, what we think about Black Lotus right now is unfortunately less than what they were back in the spring. Keep in mind, when Black Lotus was going into Division X, they had just beaten Moonlight. We were having conversations about Black Lotus being better than Moonlight, potentially being the best team in Europe in general. Black Lotus was crazy good going into Division X, and in week 1, they played against the team that everybody admitted had no business being in Division X. We just had to put them in there because we didn't have a choice. There's like nobody, like, all right, let's just throw them in there. They play week 1 on Ludi Tonight. And I'm like, why would you even put this match on Ludi Tonight? It's going to be a 5-0. No, Poyo beat Black Lotus 5-4 in a stunner that rocked both Twitter and Blue Sky for the rest of the week. It was the perfect kickoff to that Ludi season and what was a pretty exciting Division X. That is by far, that's one of the best upsets I think I've seen in a long time in the competitive Splatoon scene. It is clearly the number one. It got forgotten because I don't think Poyo's an actual team anymore, and Black Lotus, ever since that loss, has just not been at the same caliber of what they were. But that was, I was shocked that, well, I guess like people just forgot other than Z. But that was like, oh, this is the upset of the year. There's like nothing's going to come close to it. Captain of the year. I only got 2 for this. I don't know who's the captain of these teams. This is one where I have to rely on you guys. And I have to just rely on your nominations. There was only like 2 people that were legit nominated. There was one team that nominated their captain, but I looked at their team and I was like, I don't think you guys have played a single tournament yet. I don't know how that works. So I only got 2 here. Number 2 is Gray. Well, I'm not even convinced. I don't even know if you consider Gray a captain or not. I don't know if you consider PXG a team or not. You should. Common law marriage would say they've played enough tournaments to be considered a legit team. Like, they have to file taxes as a team at this point with how often they've been playing together. But the reason Gray's number 2 and not number 1 is because this was the one person who was nominated over and over and over again. And when you talk about most improved team, it kind of makes sense you give it to the captain of the team as well. JJ, captain of the year. Not just for the growth of free flow from January to December. JJ also started a new tournament, the Jauntlet, which has been received very well by critics over the course of this year as well. So captain of the year, no surprise yet again, goes to JJ. Play of the year. Speaking of JJ, here's number 3 on play of the year.
halfway through the other, and here comes the triple ink strikes. Do they have anybody who can get on the tower, though? No! The answer is no!
The Booyah Bomb!
The Booyah Bomb cycles through. Do they have anyone who can get close to the tower? It's just another
Oh my gosh!
JJ on the tower. They're at checkpoint 2. They're dancing. It's Fishy and JJ. Where are the jumps? 3, 2. One of the most miraculous games of Splatoon
That's a miracle right there.
ever seen. Free Flow takes it, and JJ, who has been the MVP of the last game, might end up being the MVP of this set.
Maybe not MVP of the set, but he'll have to settle for Popcast Captain of the Year award here. That one dominated by Sasu and Prosper. Play of the Year number 2 is my computer kind of broke.
Hold that position, and eventually they will find a different angle. Datman is working around. I mean, it is just carnage all over here right now. At the end of it all, though, it is Fo once again with a better defense. That crab is used way early. Happy gets taken out. Max range from 3Z, who has been the MVP of this game. Now the Ultra Stamp comes out. Tossed over and gets 2! Oh, every piece of that, Gator.
Beautiful plays from 3Z on the wiper, and just going to go around, threaten the pencil on their little ledge here, take out the Happy on the pencil, get another pick on Headlam, looking for another pick on Synapse. They are unstoppable, and that tower made it to 2. They're getting one more for the road as that tower slowly makes its way down.
Hold that position, and eventually
What makes that clip hilarious is that
they will find a different.
That's 3Z going up against Hypernova, who I guess at the time maybe still is coached by K-Bot. And like K-Bot's just sitting there commentating this set, watching one player just beat the absolute snot out of Hypernova. Like, at the end of that game, I don't think Hypernova is ever going to have allergy issues or need a tissue again. Like, there's no snot left in their body, which must be an amazing feeling. But K-Bot just sitting there watching that, like, oh. God, that was pretty brutal. If you don't know what the number 1 play of the year is, I mean, how do you even know to watch this show? Like, what do you do? Like, why are you watching me if you don't know what the number 1 play is? Let's watch it together.
Special grade right now is the team that is controlling the tower. They are stacking members on the tower to get through that second checkpoint as fast as they possibly can. But with Jared there, Jared gets called out by Gray, so they are doing everything they can here. And just like that, they're able to completely switch that around, take the lead in the last final seconds there. Oh my gosh, that was insane. What a
we'll talk more about that, spoiler alert, in some upcoming segments. But the obvious answer for the number 1 play of the year was the end of Super Jump 7, with Jordan somehow getting back onto the tower in overtime to clutch out a Game 5 winner take all for the entire tournament of a major, the last major of the year. This next category is tough for me personally, because I actually don't need people's help with this one. I kind of know, but it's always good to get additional opinions on this. The TO of the year. And this has always been my favorite award. But this is where I needed a lot of time to kind of come up with some sort of justification from who's where. And it's always I don't want to sit here and just give it out to an IPL person every single year. But I also don't want to deny an IPL person getting an award for this just because of I don't want to seem like I'm just patting ourselves on the back kind of thing. But let's start with the honorable mentions. First off, no matter what happens, the CCA team in general should always be a part of this in some way, because they're constantly trying new things. They're constantly carrying the college scene. They're constantly growing, and they deserve all the praise that they get. And I can only find room for an honorable mention here at this point. The other person that I have that I wanted to give a shout out to for sure is Ellie, who obviously does a lot of stuff on the production side. Ellie, the amount of tournaments Ellie's been involved in is stuff I can't really count, and definitely deserves a lot of credit for the most recent R for R event that took place that I still have to wear a wig for to pay off for the donation goal. $750 for me to wear a wig. It feels like it should be higher than that. Number 3, the number 3 TO of the year. Give it up for Strings. And it's really hard. Like, when I list off the things Strings has done, you think, like, man, Strings is only number 3 for this. SAC, Low Ink, at times has been pretty much the real head TO of Low Ink, if I'm being honest for you. Under Pressure. And one of those new lands we were talking about, Anarchy Nova, which I believe is one of the 12 that is going to qualify for next LCS. That is an event that wasn't in anybody's mind last January, now exists and is now so big that they maxed out the space in their first ever event to where they now have to, I think they're trying to get a new venue or what, or even if that even exists. But the first event they ran maxed out. Strings, one of the unsung heroes of the TOing world, especially within IPL and elsewhere. Number 2. Did I know who Z was at this point last year? I might have. I don't recall when I first had an interaction with Z. I know it was before the Splat World Series. But here's the things Z was able to accomplish this year. Fountain of Dreams, which, by the way, shout out to production for that. That might have won an award for best individual production tournament of the year. Making everything Kirby actual art style for that event. That was actually kind of funny seeing that. Oh, and by the way, Splat World Series, you might have heard of it. Like the most important event ever. Arguably. Also a new LAN. A new local that's taking place in January, isn't it? That's taking place this month, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty good. Not a bad year for Z. Not too shabby at all. But a big old fat old but. The number 1 TO of the Year award goes to the folks behind Octofest. Toyobin, Watson, and the rest of the Octofest team. This is such an important event. There is nothing significant since Breeze as far as the European LAN is concerned. And in the first ever event, they surpassed their goal and have produced one of the best production things we've seen from a LAN standpoint. The Octofest might be the, other than the Splat World Series, the most important event to take place this year. And the Octofest crew, I know it's just more than Toyobin and Watson. I had them on post episode of the podcast to talk about it. An easy choice for TO of the year because they've created an important event for Europe, and hopefully it leads to more inspiration of things going on in the European LAN scene going forward. We will start with, we got 2 left. Team of the Year, Match of the Year. We are going to go with Match of the Year first. I did have an honorable mention for this because it was the most nominated for Match of the Year. But I decided to upgrade it over what I had normally in number 3. At number 3, we have from Riptide Redemption Bracket, a set that didn't even go the distance. It was just 3-1. P-Jack Challenge beating Yellow Jackets 3-1. And everybody nominated this one. And I was the one who commentated that set alongside Falco. And I was like, this is not even freaking close to being Match of the Year. You guys are crazy. Yes, it was awesome because it was one of the most hype sets. There was a ton of people in the crowd cheering on for that set. And me and Falco, like, I knew who Yellow Jackets was because I've been playing with and against those players my entire career. I didn't know who P-Jack was. I did talk to them a little bit afterwards and got some, like, context for their team name. But I was like, why is everyone getting hyped for this? And I went back and I watched the match. It was pretty decent. I mean, it's a 3-1, but Yellow Jackets had a lead in every single game, and all the games where P-Jack did win, it did come down to, like, the final play, especially the Clam Blitz game at the very end where Yellow Jackets popped the basket just one clam away from taking the lead, and they just don't get it. So originally, I was like, you guys are crazy. You're just, like, trying to overhype a set that wasn't really that good. For a set that didn't go the distance, it was all right. And enough people nominated, we'll put it at number 3. But it wasn't that great. Come on. Number 2. I always got to find a way to slip a low ink one in here. And this has been a really good low ink as far as grand finals are concerned. They've had a lot of recent low inks where it's just been grand finals 3-0, 3-1, maybe a 3-2, but rarely a bracket reset. We had the best one probably in May of this year where Fruit Gummy beat Singularity in a Game 9, which was a Game 5 of the bracket reset going into their favor. So Fruit Gummy versus Singularity at the May Low Ink Grand Finals bracket reset gets credit for number 2. I don't need to tell you what the number 1 is. A lot of people nominated this one who weren't drinking the P-Jack Kool-Aid. And it's hard to think of, like, be prisoner to the moment and think of, like, what matches were even better than this. I mean, just, like, context around it. Grand Finals bracket reset of Super Jump 7. A team that has been dominated the entire year in PXG, or they went by special grade in this one. And Milky Way, that has been a team that is going to eventually win the Splatoon 3 North American League. And when we have to use terms that speedrunners use to describe the final moments of how Special Grade won that tournament, that's incredible. I mean, we're like frame counting how Jordan jumps back onto the tower. You know, like we're Summoning Salt could do a breakdown of that entire match and just be like, if this one frame is different right here, like the entire match just completely changed. Match of the year goes to Super Jump 7, Special Grade versus Milky Way. And that's one of the greatest sets of all time. It really is. Team of the year. And then we are going to call this episode of the podcast. Team of the year. I don't have an honorable mention, but we're going to start off at number 3. Frutella is the third team of the year, in my opinion. As I listed, I had them number 2 at most improved. They've just gotten better each time. They did take second place at Octofest, which they participated in as well. If there ever was a Splatoon 3 European League, Frutella would easily be one of the top 3, if not top 2 teams for that one. So they get number 3 here. They've had a great year. Number 2 is the team that won Team of the Year last year. We're giving it to Moonlight. And at this point, we probably just give it to them every single year. Again, they're great ambassadors of the scene. They're improving. They're constantly getting better. But we have reached a point with Moonlight now to where we need to stop giving them pats on the back for getting second place. Yes, it's been awesome. You've been getting second place. You're starting to beat the bigger teams consistently now. You can beat everybody. You've changed some of the narratives about you. But going into 2026, there's no longer going to be a congratulations, you got second place. You're either going to win one of these damn majors or you're not. And until they do, I'm not going to give them any additional praise, like any consolation prize kind of thing. It's now or never in 2026 for Moonlight. But they're the number 2 team of the year. Number 1. When you think about an entire year, from start to finish, it's hard to think of any team in particular that had a better year than PXG. And yes, are they official team? Look, it's the same core players the entire time. Maybe one player subbed out here or there for this tournament, but it's easier to count the number of tournaments they didn't win than it is to count the number of tournaments they did. Except for the final in the zone tournament that took place last week. Not the best way to close out a fantastic year, but major events aside, or major events when you just focus on those, PXG is your team of the year. And that's it. We're finally done with that. We are going to have another episode of the podcast on this upcoming Monday. It is going to be the 5 bold predictions I have for 2026, and we're going to be taking your calls for that as well. We're going to figure out what you guys think is what your bold predictions for the year are as well. We're going to find, I already know who we're going to raid. Perfect. Speaking of, we talked about Salmon Run a little bit earlier. 6, 7. I think we got enough of those. Yes. Okay, perfect. That does it for today's episode of the podcast. Get vaccinated, stay safe. Reach out to me in socials below if you feel like you want to. We'll see you on Monday. GG's. Congratulations to everybody for making it to 2026.